Adam Copeland, and kind of summarizing. I think it would be a good time to kind of like do a check in on uh, what he's done in AEW thus far in his run. Obviously, he started at Wrestle Dream, coming out at the
Yep.
main event after Darby and Christian. And man, when he first came in, I had a lot of trepidation. I did not enjoy his WWE run, like pretty much. I don't know, like what part I liked. Honestly, maybe like
I mean, What's
some of
Called
the
was a
stuff
great match,
towards
but it was a match that was recorded
maybe some of the
and
stuff
taped
that
twice.
maybe some of the stuff that was like towards the end, like maybe like with Sheamus or maybe one of the Seth Rollins matches. I did not like the AJ Styles stuff. Definitely not wasn't a fan of the Orton stuff at WrestleMania. The retape match was good.
The
And or
retail match was really good, but it was two matches put together.
Yeah. Um, and it was just like, damn, like, I kind of felt bad for the guy because he made this is a guy he cares about what he does.
Wasn't the Finn Balor Hell in a Cell match decent?
It was decent, but it was goofy because they
Yeah,
had the
yeah.
color coded weapons and different stuff like that, and it was like, all right,
Then they
man,
stopped the match because Balor started bleeding. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yep. And it was it it was a whole thing with his comments kind of where it seemed like he didn't get it. Be like some of the pushback that he got while he was in WWE, he would say things and he'd be like, "All right, man, it's just a disconnect from how he wants to present himself versus how the fans are receiving him."
Mm-hmm.
He's coming to AEW, and I think he's like been determined. Like he's like, "All right, whether it's he's probably getting paid a ton of money, so it's like I don't even think it's a money thing. It's like this guy like had kind of something to prove, because he's come out and I think he's been about as good as like you can ask for at his age, and
Yeah.
and the frequency he wrestles, as well as like the different opponents and styles. Like he's kind of trying. He's doing some of your no DQ stuff. He's doing traditional matches with people as well. And this stuff has been like very enjoyable. And he's like grabbed a mic and like decided like, yo, I'll cut the promo that nobody wants to cut. I'll come out here and work with different guys and lose, and I'll have the feud I always wanted to do with my best friend or whatever, but like work with other people. And he's even signed up. He's like, hey, put me on Collision, like is whatever. And he saw this guy is always very over in the buildings. I'm not gonna call him like some huge like business mover or anything like that, just because
Yeah.
I just don't think that's it's never really been him. But I think he's been kind of a revelation, especially like the sliding door effect of CM Punk walking out and Cope walking in, and Cope is like kind of endeared himself to I think the AEW fans in a way where it's like this is a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. I mean, it, there's two ways these things go. And obviously, the names on both sides of it, right?
So we gonna get to it.
Do you want to be CM Punk? Do you want to be Christian? Do you want to be Swerve or do you want to be Miro? Right? Like that's how this goes. And like if you have a functioning brain and you want this thing to work and you have a good attitude about this and and then it also helps that you're someone like Edge, you've done everything. You ain't got to sweat this kind of shit. Just go out there and have fun. Like his last few years have literally just been like it felt like, hey, I'm just so happy to be back and I'll do whatever you want me to. And when it comes to like Judgment Day, like there was an interview where he said the Judgment Day thing was like, yeah, man, I called for them to throw me out of Judgment Day because like I felt like I personally Edge was killing their momentum. He was right,
Mm-hmm.
and look how well they've done, right? Without him, and then you look at what's going on with what he's done in the AEW, and like he has he always has good matches. He tries hard. They're not, he does some of the old man selling a little bit too much for my taste, but like whatever. And by the end of the match works every single time except for like one notable exception of late. So yeah, He's been a success. He seems happy to be there. He hasn't had anybody turn on him. He hasn't done anything stupid to get turned on. It's been a success.
Yeah. And man, like,
and there were definitely pitfalls. Like, Darby losing that match at Wrestle Dream, and just for him to come in and win the belt eventually, that was definitely set up to, in other promotions, he would have been like, oh, okay, we see you, Big Cope. We see you. Ended up working out.
Yeah. And I think what he's done,
Danny Garcia, same situation, right?
Yeah. Like, and I think they were aware to, like, don't have him beat Garcia, but, like, Garcia still loses to Christian or whatever, and it's like you could have elevated him that way, but I don't think any of it's, like, blowing back on Big Cope. And at this rate, man, yeah, we got people bringing it up in the comments. Big Cope in the C2. I wouldn't, I wouldn't hate it.
I wouldn't hate it. He might not want to do it. Like, if he wants to, sure.
Yeah.
But he might not want to do it. Obviously, because given his advanced age, he's already working a really hard schedule. Given, do you think he wanted to wrestle this much already? Or do you think this is a surprise to him and he's just dealing with it because of what's been handed to him with, like, Moxley's away right now, Kenny's away right now, Heyman's away right now. He has to kind of take up the slack just because of the situation. Or do you think he really wanted to do this to this level?
He's always given these interviews that said that he wanted to work more, but, like, WWE, the way they were set up, they were more interested in using him as a part-timer, and I guess he wasn't in favor of that. And if you want to ingratiate yourself, that is something you would say publicly with AEW, is you want to wrestle. This is what he said publicly. So
okay,
that's what I guess I'll go by. But I think he's, like Edge is not my favorite guy. Like, I missed that generation. Essentially, I was lapsed or whatever.
I'm in that generation where I started watching, all of a sudden I look up and be like, wait a second, he's a multi world champion now?
Yeah.
Really? And I had to go back and be like, how did this happen?
Right.
He's a tag guy.
So, like, when he came back, I just, a lot of, like, some of our close friends that watched right at the time, like, they were really big Edge fans. And I was, like, looking at him, like, when he was coming in back to WWE, and I was like, I don't even see, like, close to that. Like, you can see the aura, you can see the promo ability and all that, but then, the bell would ring and the matches were just weird, to say the least.
A lot of old man selling.
Yeah, so, like, but then, like, he comes to AEW and it's like he's not, like, working a peak New Japan match. I'm not saying that at all, but, like, what he's doing is, like, he's just getting himself over, I think, over each performance, to where it's like, yeah, man, I think he's a very valuable part of what's going on, and especially because he has the right attitude about a lot of this shit too. And that's, like, a underspoken part about all this. So
yeah, I mean, the same thing. I mean, it shouldn't be that much surprise given that how Christian took to this so well too. But you never know, right? You never know. And as you mentioned in those interviews, when it wasn't going well, he was very, very, very defensive.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and I don't know if it's just a situation where, like, you're just used to, what option do you have other than to say you can't bury, the company that you work for, to say, oh, they're all idiots while you're working there.
Right.
So was either commenting or you got to give some solution. He's like, well, the fans fickle, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, because, we used to listen. I used to listen at time to the Edgy Christian podcast, and, like, they seemed like they totally got it. And then, this happened with his WWE run, his last run. It was like, what happened? He seems very sensitive. He's giving out all this stuff about, like, this advice that just is like, all right, bro, you at the age that the people you're talking to, if you had heard that advice, you would have ignored it and you would have went out there and jumped off them ladders again, right? And now he's here and it's like he's having weapon matches like every other month and shit, right? He's just concertos every 3 weeks. So it's like,
Speaking of that, he's got a barbed wire cage match coming up against Malachi Black. Man. Okay. Now, a couple weeks ago, the Dynasty review. I went through it. I was there ringside. I watched it. I booed the finish. I saw Mal Black spit the mist in his face. Edge is pinned. Immediately, we started playing the funny business games of which House of Black member are you going to face. He subsequently has a boring match with Buddy Matthews because Buddy Matthews is not who we thought he was. Man's a fraud.
It's ridiculous, bro. Like, this dude was once a great wrestler. What happened?
Bunch of
and
muscle.
It's not like he's older, had a bunch of injuries either.
Bunch of muscle, moves slower. Gonna show y'all he's a real worker now, rather than just throwing up 30. Like, who else? We got. Then he gets the Brody King match. I like that match a lot. It was like a no DQ match. Same. And all that is like. Then they announce Copeland is challenging Malachi Black to a barbed wire steel cage match. We've already had steel cage shenanigans with FTR and the House of Black, where we did our first Escape the Cage match earlier this year. That was, I think a lot of people saw red. A lot of people saw red and just like, what the fuck is going on here? Why are we beating people in cage matches without pinning them?
Right.
So, the rules have not been announced yet, but if I hear that this is you still got to escape the cage or whatever, you have to go through that barbed wire to prove how much you want to get out, I want this motherfucker gone, excommunicated.
I don't even have an issue with escape the cage thing, like where you can play on that, but like ultimately someone should get pinned or submitted in the middle of the ring.
Why doesn't he want to do jobs?
It don't make no sense, bro. Given who he knows and like you would think that he would light bulb go off and be like, hey, maybe if I don't do it this way, then I can get further or whatever else. But whatever, man. James. I guess he's waiting for. I guess he under mistaken impression like Triple H is going to want to get him once his contract up, and it's like, hey, man, if you are inactive as much as you are and you don't wrestle that often, why would he want you? You have to do business to get the business you want.
James, I should play the lottery, James.
This is reckless speculation, but I don't know what you're trying to accomplish here.
I should play the lottery, James, because the one time that Malachi Black did a job in this promotion, I was there in person, and it was to Cody Rhodes. How long ago was that?
So that's 2022.
No, right? 2021.
Oh yeah, that was first Grand Slam. Oh yeah,
bro. Yeah. It's gonna be like 3 calendar years since this man has put his shoulders on the mat in singles, let alone clean, let alone dirty. What is the malfunction, Mal Black?
I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, he came in scorching hot, and then like after he got done with Cody, like he went to the tag thing, Kings of the Black Throne thing. That was fun for a time, and then they did the trios thing, and then that was cool once they got until they got the belts, and then it was like, oh, so you're just doing like extended squash matches, like you Bob Hollyism, like that's not like people really don't want to see that, and like bro, once we got done with the Elite versus Death Triangle, those belts have never recovered. Since. They've not mattered since. And it's like it started when, these guys say, hey, we just want to have matches where we just beat people up. It's like, how is that compelling? How do you I don't get it. I don't know, man. So yeah. I don't know what to say. And then you see obviously Brody King in the C2, protected as a monster of his block, ultimately didn't advance. Like, he's the one they should be pushing.
Absolutely.
And I'm no problem with Brody King. I'm still a fan of the dude, but like, what have you done for me lately? Not a damn thing.
And it's like, you're
not helping me want to root for you as you continue to not do anything in this company.
Look, in the words of Kendrick Lamar, fuck us. Fuck helping us. He's not even helping himself.
Right.
This is a battle with himself. Get your ass out there and put your shoulders on the mat for somebody. Make somebody look good, God damn it.
Yep.
It's so easy.
Like,
it would be so easy because we know the guy can work. We know he has
right.
kind of a cool presentation to him, right?
Right.
Even though the lore stuff is fucking goofy and your mileage may vary on that shit.
Right.
You can get around that if the guy wants to, wrestle and stuff like that. But he clearly, like, it's just a roadblock in his mind to where it's just like everything else can, he can come up with the lore behind anything except losing. Apparently, he can't even figure that out.
And it's funny because it's like Bray Wyatt lost a lot. Not saying they're the same people, but it's like if you want to do all this spooky shit, like you're gonna have to take some L's at crucial moments because like that shit doesn't draw the houses in that way, or for most of the time, right? And it's like Bray Wyatt was able to talk himself out of losses. Eddie Kingston was able to talk himself out of losses. You gotta figure something else out, man. You got a faction of like 3 badasses. Like you should be able to recover from a loss. We ain't talking about losses. We said a loss. So,
unreal.
Yeah.
Like just